Many years ago, in a small village called Okeayo, in the eastern part of Nigeria, there lived a woman named Patience Okoli. Now, Patience was not always the broken, hollow-eyed woman you would have seen stumbling through the village square that particular morning. No, just 6 months earlier, she had been a wife, a mother, a woman who laughed easily and sang while cooking. But death, that cold, merciless thief, had snatched her husband Chukudi right from her arms. And when death takes the breadwinner in a poor home, everything else begins to crumble like poorly fried akara. Chukudi had been sick for months, the kind of sickness that starts small, just a cough here, a headache there, and then suddenly becomes a monster that swallows a man whole. They had tried everything. They went to the village herbalist, who mixed roots and leaves that smelled like punishment. They went to the church where the pastor prayed fire and brimstone prayers that shook the ceiling. They even sold their small generator, their standing fan, Patience's wedding jewelry, and their only goat to take him to the hospital in the city. Nothing worked. One cold February morning, Chukudi squeezed Patience's hand, smiled weakly at his 4 children gathered around the bed, and whispered, "Take care of them." Then he closed his eyes and never opened them again. Patience screamed so loud that morning, the neighbors said even the chickens stopped clucking. But grief doesn't pay rent, and hunger doesn't care about your tears. 2 months after Chukwudi's death, Patience found herself sitting on the floor of her tiny one-room apartment with her 4 children, ages 5, 7, 10, and 13, staring at her with hungry eyes. The landlord had just left after threatening to throw them out if she didn't pay the 3 months rent she owed. 3 months rent, 15,000 naira. It might as well have been 15 million naira. Patience had no job, no skills, no family willing to help. Her late husband's relatives had come for the funeral, ate all the food, and disappeared like smoke. Her own family lived far away in another state and were too poor themselves to help. She was alone, completely, terribly alone. That evening, as she sat outside her door trying to figure out how to feed her children with the last 200 naira she had, her neighbor, a woman named Rita, came and sat beside her. "Patience," Rita said quietly, "I've been watching you suffer, and I can't just sit and watch anymore." Patience didn't even look up. "Unless you have money to give me, Sister Rita, I don't think there's anything you can do." "I don't have money," Rita admitted, "but I know someone who can help you." Patience finally turned to look at her. "Who?" Rita leaned closer and whispered, "The Black Sisters Club." Patience frowned. She had heard about the Black Sisters Club. Every woman in Okeayo knew about them. They were the most powerful group of women in the village. They controlled the market. They helped widows. They ran a cooperative society. If you wanted to sell anything in the Okeayo market, you had to join their club. If you needed money, they would lend it to you. But Patience had also heard other things. Whispers, rumors, strange stories about how the club operated, how they seemed to have too much power, how women who joined them suddenly became wealthy, but their families started experiencing mysterious deaths. "I don't know, Sister Rita," Patience said slowly. "I've heard things about them, things that don't sound right." Rita waved her hand dismissively. "Those are just village gossip, jealous people talking. The truth is, the Black Sisters help women. The leader, Mama Helen, she was once like you, a poor widow with nothing. Now look at her. Her son is a doctor in Lagos. Her daughter married a rich man in the UK. Her last child is in the university. All because the club helped her." Patience's heart began to beat faster. A son who is a doctor, a daughter in the UK, university education. How, how do I join? She asked quietly. Rita smiled. Just go to the market tomorrow. Mama Helen has an office near the big mango tree. Tell her I sent you. She'll help you. That night, Patience couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about her children's hungry faces, about the landlord's threat, about the impossibility of her situation. What choice did she have? The next morning, Patience dressed in a best wrapper, the only one that didn't have holes or patches, and headed to the market. The Oke market was always busy, full of women shouting prices, men pushing wheelbarrows, and the smell of fresh tomatoes mixed with dried fish. Patience walked through the crowd, her heart pounding, until she reached the big mango tree. Under the tree was a small office, really just a wooden shed with a tin roof. But inside, sitting behind a table like she owned the entire world, was Mama Helen. The woman was middle-aged, maybe in her late 40s, but she carried herself like royalty. She was chubby, with eyebrows drawn so high, they looked like they were trying to escape to her hairline. Her lips were painted a deep red, the exact shade of fresh blood, and she wore enough gold jewelry to open a small shop. She looked up when Patience entered, and her eyes, sharp, calculating eyes, swept over Patience from head to toe. Yes, Mama Helen's voice was smooth like honey, but there was something underneath it, something cold. Good afternoon, Ma. Patience's voice shook. My name is Patience Okoli. Sister Rita sent me. She said you could help me. Mama Helen leaned back in her chair, studying Patience like she was a piece of fabric she was considering buying. Help you with what? Patience swallowed. I'm a widow, Ma. My husband died 2 months ago. I have 4 children and no way to feed them. The landlord wants to throw us out. I need help. I heard your club helps women start businesses. Please, Ma, I'll do anything, even if it's just selling vegetables. Anything to feed my children. For a long moment, Mama Helen said nothing. She just stared at Patience with those sharp eyes. Then slowly she smiled. But it wasn't a warm smile. It was the kind of smile a cat gives a mouse before pouncing. Ah, my dear sister, Mama Helen said, her voice dripping with sympathy. I understand your pain. I was once exactly where you are now. My husband died, left me with nothing. I was about to jump into the river and end it all. Patience's eyes widened. Really, Ma? Yes, my dear. But this club, the Black Sisters Club, they saved me. They gave me money to start my business. They gave me a stall in this market. And look at me now. She spread her arms wide, showing off her gold jewelry, her expensive wrapper, her well-fed frame. My son is a doctor in Lagos. My daughter is a top lawyer. My oldest daughter is living her best life in the UK with her family. My last child is studying medicine in the university. Patience felt tears pricking her eyes. This woman had gone from nothing to everything, just like she wanted to do. Please, Ma, Patience whispered. How do I join? Mama Helen's smile widened. Oh, it's very simple, my dear. Very, very simple. You just need to become a member, that's all. How do I become a member? You fill out a form, write your name, your address, sign it. Then we shake hands and drink a welcome glass of wine together. That's it. After that, you're officially part of the Black Sisters Club, and we'll help you with everything you need. It sounded too easy, too good to be true. But Patience was desperate, and desperate people don't ask too many questions. Mama Helen pulled out a big, heavy ledger from under her table. The book was ancient looking, bound in dark leather that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The pages were yellowed and covered in names, hundreds of names, written in red ink that looked suspiciously like dried blood. But Patience didn't notice. She was too focused on the hope blooming in her chest. "Here," Mama Helen said, opening the book to a blank page. "Write your full name here and sign at the bottom." Patience took the pen. It felt strangely cold in her hand and wrote carefully, "Patience Okoli." She signed her name at the bottom with a shaky hand. "Perfect!" Mama Helen clapped her hands together. "Now, let's seal your membership with a drink." She reached under the table and pulled out a bottle of red wine. The liquid inside was dark, almost black, and it seemed to shimmer in the dim light of the shed. Mama Helen poured the wine into a glass and handed it to Patience. "To prosperity," Mama Helen said, raising her own glass. "Welcome to the club, my sister." Patience hesitated for just a second. The wine smelled strange. Sweet, yes, but underneath the sweetness was something metallic, something that made her stomach turn. But then she thought about her children, about their hungry eyes, about the landlord's threats. She lifted the glass to her lips and drank. The wine was sweet, cool, luxurious. She hadn't tasted anything this good in years, maybe never in her entire life. She drank the entire glass in one gulp, savoring every drop. Mama Helen watched her with that strange smile. "Excellent," she said softly. "You're now a member of the Black Sisters Club. Come back next week Monday. I'll personally give you a stall in the market and I'll arrange for the other sisters to contribute money for your business. Don't worry, my dear. Your life is about to change." Patience left that shed feeling lighter than air. She practically floated home. For the first time in months, she had hope. Real, tangible hope. That night, she cooked the last handful of rice they had, mixed it with plenty of water to make it stretch, and fed her children. They went to bed with half-full stomachs, but Patience didn't mind. Soon, very soon, things would be better. Or so she thought. That night, Patience fell asleep easily for the first time in weeks. But at exactly 12 midnight, the witching hour, something happened. Her eyes snapped open, not slowly, like normal waking. No, they flew open like someone had yanked her eyelids up with invisible strings. She was lying on the thin mat on the floor, her 4 children sleeping peacefully around her. The room was dark except for the faint moonlight coming through the window. But Patience could see everything, every crack in the wall, every cobweb in the corner, every breath her children took. Her vision was sharp, impossibly sharp, like she'd suddenly gained the eyes of an owl. And then she heard it. A sound, soft at first, like wind rustling through leaves, but it grew louder, closer. Patience wanted to move, wanted to sit up, but her body wouldn't obey. She was frozen, lying on her back, eyes wide open, completely aware, but completely paralyzed. Then, through the wall, yes, through the solid wall like it was made of mist, 2 figures appeared. Patience's heart stopped. The first figure was Mama Helen, but she didn't look anything like the woman Patience had met at the market. Her face was gaunt, skull-like, with hollow eyes that glowed faintly red. She wore a wrapper of pure white with strange symbols drawn on it in what looked like ash or blood. Her movements were wrong, too fluid, too smooth, like she was floating instead of walking. The second figure was another woman Patience didn't recognize. Younger, but with the same hollow eyes, the same unnatural movements. They stood at the foot of Patience's mat, staring down at her with those terrible glowing eyes. Patience! Mama Helen's voice echoed in the room, but her lips didn't move. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Get up! It's time for the meeting. Patience tried to scream, tried to move, tried to do anything, but nothing worked. Suddenly her body sat up on its own, like someone else was controlling it. She stood, looked down at herself and gasped. She was dressed exactly like them. White wrapper with red symbols. Her feet were bare. Her hands were marked with the same strange ash symbols. When did she change clothes? How? Follow us, the other woman said. Her voice was like nails on a chalkboard. No. Patience finally managed to whisper. No, I don't understand. What meeting? It's midnight. My children. Your children are fine, Mama Helen said. And now there was no warmth in her voice at all. Just cold command. They can't see us. They can't hear us. Only you can. Because you're one of us now. You drank the initiation wine. You signed your name in the book of shadows. You belong to the Black Feathers Coven. The Black Feathers Coven. Not the Black Sisters Club. Coven. The word hit Patience like a bucket of ice water. I didn't sign up to be a witch. Patience's voice rose in panic. I came for help, for a business loan. Not this. Blood of Jesus. I'm not a witch. Mama Helen laughed. The sound was like broken glass, scraping against metal. Oh, my dear foolish child, she said, moving closer. Did you really think we were just going to hand you money, give you a stall in the market, help you become successful without getting anything in return? Nothing in this life is free. You wanted wealth, you wanted success, and now you'll have it. But first, you must fulfill your duties to the coven. No. Patience backed away. I didn't agree to this. I didn't know. You signed your name, the other woman interrupted coldly. You drank our wine, the blood of our last victim mixed with ancient herbs. That wine is flowing through your veins right now. That's why you can see us. That's why you can't resist the summons. You are bound to us now, body and soul. Patience felt like the room was spinning. The blood of their last victim. She had drunk someone's blood. She was going to be sick. Now, Mama Helen said, her voice sharp as a blade, you have two choices. You can come with us willingly to the meeting, or we can take you by force. But let me warn you, if you resist, if you try to tell anyone about what you've seen, you and all four of your children will be dead by morning. We'll feast on your organs at tomorrow night's gathering. Your neighbors will find your bodies and think it was a tragic accident. So, what will it be? Patience looked at her sleeping children, her babies, her reason for living. She had no choice. I'll come, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Mama Helen smiled that terrible smile again. Good girl. She grabbed Patience's hand. Her skin was ice cold, like touching a corpse. And suddenly, the room dissolved. When the world solidified again, Patience found herself standing in the middle of a thick forest. Tall trees surrounded them, their branches twisted and gnarled, like arthritic fingers, reaching for the sky. The moon hung low and red, blood red, casting everything in an eerie crimson glow. In the center of a clearing was a massive bonfire. The flames were not orange or yellow like normal fire. They burned dark purple, crackling and hissing like they were alive. Around the fire were chairs, beautiful ornate chairs that looked like they belonged in a palace, not a forest. And sitting in those chairs were women, dozens of women. Patience's blood ran cold as she recognized face after face. There was Sister Mary, the pastor's wife from her church, the woman who led worship every Sunday, who prayed in tongues during service, who organized prayer meetings and fasting sessions. There was Mama Joy, the women's leader in the church, the woman who visited the sick, who organized charity drives, who everyone respected as a pillar of virtue. There was Queen Esther, the third wife of the village king, the gentle, soft-spoken woman who donated to orphanages and spoke at women's conferences about morality and godliness. There were market women, church members, teachers, even Mama Chidinma, the elderly woman who sold crayfish and dried fish near the motor park. All of them, all dressed in white and red wrappers, all with the same hollow glowing eyes. They turned to look at Patience and smiled in unison. "Welcome, sister," they said together, their voices creating a horrible harmony. "Welcome to the Black Feathers." Patience's legs gave out. She would have collapsed if Mama Helen hadn't gripped her arm with fingers like iron clamps. "Sit," Mama Helen commanded, pushing Patience toward an empty chair. Patience sat, her whole body trembling like a leaf in a storm. One of the women, she looked like she might be the eldest, stood up. She was ancient, with skin like dried leather and eyes that seemed to see right through your soul. "Sisters," the old woman said, her voice surprisingly strong, "we have a new member, Patience Okoli. She has drunk from the cup of binding. She has signed her name in the book of shadows. She is one of us now." The women clapped. The sound echoed through the forest like thunder. "The rules are simple," the old woman continued, turning a terrible gaze on Patience. "You attend every meeting, midnight, every night, until we dismiss you. You never speak of what happens here to anyone outside the coven. You never refuse a summons. And when your time comes, you bring your offering." "Offering?" Patience's voice was barely a whisper. The old woman smiled, showing teeth that were too sharp to white. "Meat," she said simply. "We all contribute. We all feast. That's how the coven works. We share our kills. We share the power. We share the wealth." Patience felt bile rising in her throat. "Now," the old woman said, clapping her hands, "let us feast. I'm starving." What happened next would haunt Patience for the rest of her life. From the shadows beyond the firelight, other women appeared, carrying large clay pots. They set the pots down near the fire and removed the lids. The smell hit Patience immediately. Roasted meat. But underneath the roasted smell was something else. Something that made every instinct in her body scream, "Wrong." The women began serving food onto wooden plates. Meat that looked like chicken, rice, vegetables, even wine in ornate cups. They passed a plate to Patience. She looked down at it and felt her stomach turn. The meat looked like chicken, yes, but it wasn't chicken. She knew it wasn't chicken. She could feel it in her bones, in her soul. This was human flesh. "Eat," Mama Helen said beside her, already biting into her own portion with enthusiasm. I can't," Patience whispered. Mama Helen's eyes flashed red. "You will eat, or you will be eaten. Choose." All around her, women were feasting, laughing, talking casually about whose son they had killed this week, whose daughter they had afflicted with sickness, whose husband they had driven mad. Sister Mary, the pastor's wife, was giggling about how she had caused a car accident that killed 3 people just last Tuesday. Mama Joy was complaining that the liver she got last week was too tough. Queen Esther was bragging about how she had manipulated her husband into making a political decision that would benefit the coven. They were monsters, all of them, monsters wearing human skin. Patience looked down at the meat on her plate, at the rice soaked in what she now realized was blood, not palm oil. She couldn't do it. She couldn't eat this, but she had to pretend. So she cut a small piece, lifted it toward her mouth, but at the last second she fumbled and dropped it. She pretended to pick it up, but actually hid it in the folds of her wrapper. She did this throughout the meal, pretending to eat, hiding pieces in her wrapper, drinking from her cup but letting most of it spill onto the ground when no one was looking. The meeting went on for hours. They discussed who they would target next, who would bring the next offering, who had failed to meet their quota and needed to be punished. Finally, around 3 a.m., the old woman stood. "This meeting is adjourned. Return to your homes. We gather again tomorrow night." And just like that, the world dissolved again. Patience found herself back in her room, lying on the mat, her children still sleeping peacefully around her. She sat up, her heart pounding. Had it been a dream, a nightmare? But no, there in her wrapper, wrapped in leaves, were the pieces of meat she had hidden. It was real. All of it was real. Patience grabbed the clay pot she used for storing dried fish and quickly hid the meat inside, covering it with a cloth. Then she curled up on her mat and cried silently until dawn. The summons came every single night after that. Midnight would strike, and Patience's eyes would snap open. Her body would move on its own, dressing itself in that horrible white and red wrapper. Then Mama Helen would appear, and Patience would be transported to that cursed clearing in the forest. Every single night, they feasted, and every single night, Patience was given a different part of the meat. One night, it was a liver, still warm, still bleeding. Another night, it was kidneys, two small, bean-shaped organs that she knew had been inside a living person just hours before. One particularly horrible night, they gave her a hand, an actual human hand, roasted like suya, with the finger still intact. Patience never ate any of it. She became an expert at deception. She would cut the meat, lift it toward her mouth, pretend to chew, then hide it in a wrapper when no one was looking. She kept every single piece. Her secret pot in her room grew fuller and fuller. Liver, kidneys, pieces of flesh, even an eye once. That had been particularly difficult to hide. But during the day, Patience's life did improve exactly as Mama Helen had promised. The women of the Black Sisters Club, the daytime version, came together and gave her 50,000 naira to start a business. Mama Helen personally arranged for her to have a prime stall in the market, one of the best locations. Patience started selling provisions, rice, beans, garri, palm oil. Business was good. The other market women, all coven members, made sure to send customers her way. Within 2 months, Patience had paid her rent. Within 3 months, her children were back in school with new uniforms and books. Within 4 months, she could afford 3 meals a day. On the surface, her life was perfect, but every night was a living nightmare. She watched them kill. She heard them plan murders. She listened to Sister Mary describe how she caused a miscarriage for a woman who had offended her. She heard Mama Joy laugh about cursing a young man with madness because he refused to marry her daughter. These women, pillars of the community by day, were demons by night, and Patience was trapped with them. She tried once, just once, to resist the summons. She prayed before bed. She bound herself with blankets. She even tied her leg to the bed frame with rope. Nothing worked. Midnight came, and her body sat up on its own, untied the rope like it was nothing, and walked through the wall. She belonged to them now. 6 months passed. 6 months of nightmares. 6 months of hidden meat piling up in her secret pot. 6 months of watching her children thrive, while her soul withered. Then one night, the old woman stood up during the meeting and pointed directly at Patience. "Patience Okoli," she said, her voice echoing through the clearing. "You have been with us for 6 months now. You have benefited from our wealth. Your business thrives. Your children are in school. Your life has changed completely. Wouldn't you say?" Patience nodded slowly, dread pooling in her stomach like cold water. "It is time," the old woman continued, "for you to bring your offering. Your meat, your contribution to the feast." The clearing fell silent. Every eye turned to Patience. What? What kind of meat?" Patience asked, though she already knew the answer. Mama Helen stood up, her face twisted in that horrible smile. "Your child," she said simply. "One of your 4 children. Bring us one, and we will feast. That is the price. That is how it works. We all pay it eventually." Patience felt like she'd been struck by lightning. "My child? You want me to sacrifice my own child?" "Of course," Mama Helen said, looking at her like she was stupid. "Did you think you were special? Did you think you could just take and never give anything back? Every woman here has brought her offering. Sister Mary brought her niece 3 months ago. Mama Joy brought her grandson just last week. Queen Esther brought her own son 2 years ago. That's how she became the king's favorite wife. We all contribute. Now it's your turn." Patience stood up so fast her chair fell backward. "No," she said, her voice shaking but firm. "No, I didn't eat any of your meat. I never touched it. I've been keeping it, saving it. Every piece you gave me is hidden in my room. I didn't participate in your evil. And I will never, do you hear me? Never sacrifice my children." The clearing exploded in shocked whispers. Mama Helen's face twisted in fury. "You've been keeping the meat, not eating it?" "Yes," Patience shouted, tears streaming down her face. "I never wanted this. You tricked me. You lied to me. I came to you for help, not to join a coven of killers. These are my children, the same children I was trying to save. How can I kill them? What kind of mother would I be?" The old woman's eyes narrowed. "The same kind of mother all of us are. The kind who understands that sacrifice brings power, that blood brings wealth." "I don't want your wealth," Patience screamed. "Not like this. Not by killing my own children." Mama Helen moved toward her, eyes blazing. "You have no choice. You are bound to us. You drank the blood. You signed the book. If you refuse to bring an offering, we will kill you and all 4 of your children. We will feast on your entire family. Is that what you want?" Patience's mind raced. She was trapped, completely trapped. But then, through her terror, a small voice spoke in her heart. Better to die fighting than to live as a monster. She made her decision right there. "Give me time," she said quietly. "Give me 1 week to decide which child to bring." The old woman smiled. 1 week, 7 days. Then you bring your offering, or you all die. When Patience returned to her room that night, she didn't sleep. She couldn't sleep. She looked at her 4 children, all peaceful, all innocent, all trusting that their mother would protect them. And she knew what she had to do, even if it cost her everything. 3 days later, Patience made her move. She woke up early, before sunrise. She sent her children to school. with the last of her money for lunch. Then she went to her secret hiding place and pulled out the large clay pot where she had been storing all the meat for 6 months. Liver, kidneys, hands, feet, pieces of flesh, even that horrible eye, all of it, preserved by whatever dark magic kept it from rotting. She wrapped the pot in cloth, lifted it onto her head, and walked straight to the palace of Igwe Okonkwo, the traditional ruler of Okeayo. When she reached the palace gates, she began shouting, "I am a witch! I am a witch! I have come to confess to the Igwe." People on the street froze. Some screamed. Some ran away. Witches were feared in Okeayo. Everyone knew that witches brought death and destruction. The palace guards tried to stop her, but Patience pushed past them, still shouting, "I am a witch. Let me see the Igwe. I must confess." She burst into the palace courtyard, where Igwe Okonkwo was holding a meeting with his council of chiefs. The Igwe, an elderly man with a magnificent coral crown and traditional robes, stood up in shock. "What is the meaning of this?" he thundered. "Who are you? What is this madness?" Patience fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Igwe, my father, please forgive me. My name is Patience Okoli. I am a witch. I have come to confess everything." The courtyard fell silent. You could have heard an ant walking. Patience lifted the clay pot from her head and placed it on the ground. She pulled off the covering cloth. The smell that emerged made everyone gag. "Igwe," Patience said, her voice shaking, "this pot contains the meat that they gave me. Human flesh. They've been giving it to me for 6 months. I never ate it. I saved every piece because I knew it was wrong." She began to speak. She told them everything. How she had gone to Mama Helen looking for help. How she was tricked into signing the Book of Shadows and drinking the initiation wine. How every midnight she was summoned to the coven. How they feasted on human flesh. How they planned murders and caused accidents and spread sickness. And she named names, every single name. Sister Mary, the pastor's wife, she is a member. Mama Joy, the women's leader in church, she is a member. Queen Esther, your third wife, my Igwe, she is a member. The Igwe's eyes widened. "My wife? You're saying my own wife is part of this abomination?" "Yes, Igwe, and she sacrificed your son Chinedu, who died 8 months ago. They said it was illness, but it wasn't. Queen Esther brought him to the coven. They killed him. They ate him. I was given his kidney." Patience pointed at the pot. "It's in there. His kidney is in that pot." The Igwe looked like he might collapse. One of the chiefs spoke up. "This is madness. How do we know this woman is telling the truth? Maybe she's gone mad with grief." "Then test me," Patience cried. "Bring your staff of office. Let me swear by it. If I'm lying, let thunder strike me down. I'm willing to swear by anything sacred in this kingdom." The Igwe looked at his staff, a powerful symbol of authority blessed by generations of priests. No one could lie while holding that staff. The consequences were immediate and deadly. "Bring the staff," he commanded. A chief brought the staff forward. It was carved from ancient Iroko wood, topped with brass, covered in powerful charms. "Hold it," the Igwe said, "and repeat after me. If I am lying about any of this, may thunder strike me dead right now." Patience grabbed the staff with both hands and said clearly, "If I am lying about any of this, may thunder strike me dead right now." Everyone held their breath. Nothing happened. Patience was still alive, still standing, The staff had accepted her oath. The Igwe's face hardened. Send my guards. Bring all the women she named. Bring them here now. Within an hour, the palace courtyard was filled with women. Mama Helen, Sister Mary, Mama Joy, Queen Esther, Mama Chidima, all the market women, all the church women, all the respected, powerful women of Oke Ayo. They all stood before the Igwe, trying to look innocent, trying to look shocked. This woman, the Igwe said, pointing at Patience, has accused all of you of witchcraft, of belonging to a coven called the Black Feathers, of killing people and eating their flesh. What do you have to say? Mama Helen stepped forward, her face the picture of indignation. My Igwe, this is nonsense, absolute nonsense. This woman is clearly mad. We are the Black Sisters Club, a respectable cooperative society. We help widows. We support the community. How dare she accuse us of such evil? Sister Mary clutched her Bible dramatically. I am a pastor's wife, a woman of God. This is clearly the devil trying to destroy my reputation. Queen Esther fell to her knees, sobbing. My husband, my Igwe, you know me. How can you believe such lies? But the Igwe wasn't convinced. Then you won't mind swearing by the staff, he said coldly. If you're all innocent, hold the staff and swear that you are not witches, that you do not belong to any coven, that you have never killed anyone. The women's faces changed. Fear flickered in their eyes. Well, the Igwe demanded, who wants to go first? Mama Ejike, one of the boldest members, stepped forward. This is ridiculous, she said, grabbing the staff confidently. I swear by this staff that I am not. She never finished the sentence. The sky, which had been clear moments before, suddenly turned dark. Thunder rumbled, and before anyone could blink, a bolt of lightning crashed down from the heavens. Boom! It struck Mama Ejike directly. She convulsed, foam pouring from her mouth, her body twisting in ways no human body should twist. Her skin turned black. Smoke rose from her hair. Then she collapsed, dead, her face frozen in a silent scream. The courtyard erupted in screams. The other women tried to run, but the palace guards blocked all the exits. Nobody moves, the Igwe roared. Anyone who tries to run will be considered guilty. Now, who else wants to claim they're innocent? Step forward and hold the staff. Not a single woman moved. They knew. They all knew what would happen if they touched that staff. Finally, Mama Helen broke. She fell to her knees, wailing, Igwe, please, please have mercy. Don't make us touch the staff. We'll confess. We'll confess everything. And just like that, the dam broke. They all started talking at once, confessing, begging for mercy. Mama Helen confessed how she had been initiated 20 years ago, how she had sacrificed her own sister's children, how she had brought her daughter-in-law's pregnancies as offerings. That's why the poor woman could never carry a baby to term. Sister Mary confessed to using spiritual attacks, to cause car accidents, to spread sickness, to ruin people's businesses. Mama Joy admitted to causing children with mental illness when their parents offended her. And Queen Esther, Queen Esther's confession was the worst. She admitted that she had sacrificed the Igwe's own son, Prince Chinedu, to secure her position as his favorite wife. She had wanted to be queen above the other wives, so she offered her own stepson to the coven. The Igwe looked like his heart had shattered into a million pieces. My son, he whispered. You killed my son? Queen Esther couldn't even look at him. She just sobbed on the ground. The confessions went on for hours. Every murder, every curse, every evil thing they had done. The entire village had gathered outside the palace by now, listening in horror. When the confessions finally ended, the Igwe stood. His face was a mask of grief and rage. "What you have done," he said, his voice shaking, "is unforgivable. You have brought death and destruction to this village. You have killed our children, our husbands, our brothers and sisters. You used your positions of trust as church leaders, as market leaders, as my own wife to commit these abominations." He paused, struggling to control his emotions. "The penalty for witchcraft is death," he continued, "but I will not kill you. I will not make our land drink more blood. Instead, I banish you, all of you. You will leave this village today. You will never return. Not you, not your children, not your grandchildren, not even your great-great-great-grandchildren down to the 14th generation. If any of you ever set foot in Okeayo again, you will be struck down by thunder, just like Mama Ejike. This is my decree. This is final." The women wailed and begged, but the Igwe was unmovable. Guards dragged them out of the palace. Their belongings were thrown out of their homes. Their families disowned them. By sunset, they were all gone, scattered to other villages, other states, living in shame and exile. The pastor, when he heard that his wife was a witch, didn't even wait. He packed his things that same night and disappeared. Nobody ever saw him again. Then the Igwe turned to Patience. She was still kneeling, tears streaming down her face. "Patience Okoli," the Igwe said sternly, "you also confessed to being part of this coven. You also drank their blood. You also attended their meetings." "Yes, my Igwe," Patience whispered. "I know. I'm ready to face whatever punishment you give me." One of the chiefs spoke up. "Igwe, this woman is different. She never actually participated in their evil. She saved every piece of meat instead of eating it. She refused to sacrifice her children even when threatened. She came forward and exposed them all, saving countless future victims. Surely that counts for something." Another chief nodded. "She is a widow who was strict. She was desperate to feed her children. Yes, she made a mistake joining them, but she never truly became one of them. I say we show mercy." The courtyard buzzed with discussion. Finally, the Igwe spoke. "Patience Okoli, I will spare your life. I will spare your children. But your actions, even if done in ignorance, cannot go unpunished. Therefore, I sentence you to 6 months of ostracization. For 6 months, you will be like a leper. No one in this village may speak to you. No one may buy from you or sell to you. No one may help you. You will survive on your own. After 6 months, if you have endured this punishment with grace, you will be fully pardoned and restored to the community. Do you accept this?" Patience bowed her head. "Yes, my Igwe. Thank you for your mercy." The next 6 months were the hardest of Patience's life, harder even than the midnight summons to the coven. When she walked through the market, people looked away. When she tried to buy food, sellers refused to serve her. When she greeted her neighbors, they turned their backs. Her children struggled too. Other children at school whispered and pointed. "That's the witch's daughter. My mother said not to play with you." But Patience endured. She had a small farm plot her late husband had left. She planted vegetables there, okra, ugu, tomatoes. She and her children ate what they grew. They rationed everything carefully. Some days, they went to bed hungry. Some days, her youngest daughter cried from the cruel taunts at school. Some days, Patience herself wanted to just give up. But then she would remember what she had escaped. She would remember those midnight meetings, that horrible feast, the demand to sacrifice her children. and she would find strength to keep going. The months crawled by, 6 of the longest months in human history. But finally the day came. The Igwe summoned her back to the palace. "Patience Okoli," he said, "you have completed your punishment. From this day forward, you are fully pardoned. Your name is cleared. Anyone who calls you a witch or treats you with disrespect will answer to me personally. You are restored." And just like that, everything changed. People started greeting her again. The market women started buying from her. The Igwe even gave her a small grant to restart her business properly. A new pastor came to the church, a young fiery preacher who had heard about what happened. He personally prayed for Patience and her children, blessing them and breaking any remaining spiritual chains. Patience's business slowly recovered, not as quickly as before. Some people were still wary, but it grew steadily. Her children went back to school and over time made friends again. Every month, the Igwe sent foodstuffs and a small amount of money to help her. "You saved this village," he told her once. "You could have stayed silent and sacrificed one child to save the others, but you chose to expose evil instead. That took courage. I will not forget that." Life wasn't perfect. Some people still whispered. Some still believed. Once a witch, always a witch. But Patience was alive. Her children were alive. And they were free. She never forgot what she had learned. There are no shortcuts in life. Desperation can lead you down dark paths. But it's never too late to choose the light. Even when choosing light means walking through fire. And so, Patience Okoli, the widow who had been tricked into joining a coven, who had resisted becoming a monster, who had risked everything to expose evil, lived the rest of her days in peace. Her children grew up strong and moral, always remembering their mother's courage. And in the village of Okeayo, her story became a legend, a warning about the dangers of desperation, a reminder that evil often wears a friendly face, and most importantly, a testament to the power of a mother's love, a love so fierce that it would rather face death than become a monster. The end. And that, my dear friends, is the story of Patience and the Black Feathers Coven. Remember, when something seems too good to be true, it probably is. And when you're desperate, be very, very careful who you ask for help, because some help comes with a price you're not willing to pay.